Mother-in-law kicks me out of the expensive family vacation I paid and demands I stay home to babysit sister-in-law's kids. Okay, so I don't even know where to start with this. Like, I've been married to Mike for about 2 years now, and let me tell you, he's awesome. We get along great, he's supportive, loving, all that good stuff. I honestly feel lucky to have him in my life. But of course, no relationship comes without its baggage. And in my case, that baggage is in the form of his mom, Karen, and his sister, Emma. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't go into this marriage thinking it would all be sunshine and rainbows with the in-laws. I mean, I expected some awkwardness, right? I knew Karen and Emma might take a little time to warm up to me, but the level of outright disrespect? Yeah, I wasn't ready for that. So let's rewind a bit. When Mike and I first started dating, everything was great. We had that honeymoon phase where everything just felt perfect. It wasn't until I met his family that things got a little weird. I remember the first time I met Karen, Mike's mom. We were at this casual family dinner, and I was nervous as hell. I mean, who wouldn't be? Meeting the mom is a big deal. Anyway, we get there, and from the second I walk in, it's like I could feel her sizing me up. She didn't even try to hide it. She gave me one of those forced smiles that didn't reach her eyes, you know? And then, the whole time, she was just distant, cold. Like, she'd ask me questions, but not in a getting-to-know-you kind of way. More like she was just going through the motions. I remember telling Mike about it afterward, and he was like, "Oh, don't worry, she's just like that with everyone." And okay, maybe I gave her the benefit of the doubt at first, but then every time we saw her after that, it was the same thing. She'd barely talk to me, and when she did, it was always some backhanded compliment or just straight up dismissive. Like, when she found out I run a daycare business, she said, "Oh, so you're basically just a babysitter?" with this smug look on her face. Look, I'm proud of what I do. I worked my ass off to build my daycare business from the ground up, and I make good money doing it. But to Karen, I guess I was just some nanny who wasn't good enough for her precious son. It didn't matter that Mike was happy or that I was taking care of him. No, all she saw was someone who didn't fit her idea of what his wife should be. And then there's Emma, his sister. Oh man, Emma's something else. She's got this whole "I'm better than you" vibe that's hard to ignore. The first time I met her, she didn't even bother to hide her disdain. She straight up looked me up and down like I was trash. And the worst part? She didn't even try to hide it from Mike. She'd make little digs at me in front of him like, "Oh, you're still doing that daycare thing? When are you gonna get a real job?" Real job? I own a freaking business. But in her mind, if you're not sitting in some office in a suit, it doesn't count. It's like she thought I was some gold digger, even though I was the one making more money than Mike at the time. I didn't say anything though, because I didn't want to start drama. But it stung. I think what really got to me was how they acted like I didn't deserve to be part of their family. Like, they'd have these family gatherings, and I'd always feel like the outsider. They'd all be talking and laughing, and I'd just be sitting there trying to join in. But it was like they didn't even see me. Karen would talk about all these fancy things she wanted for Mike, and how she hoped he'd settle down with someone who can really support him. I'm sitting right there, lady. I am that someone. But no, according to her, I wasn't good enough. I remember one time we were at this family party, and Karen had one too many glasses of wine. She started going on about how she didn't understand why Mike married so quickly, and how it's so important to find someone who matches your potential. I was literally sitting next to Mike, trying not to let my blood boil. But Mike? He didn't say a word. I could see the tension in his face, but he just let it slide. That's kind of been the theme of our marriage so far. Mike loves me, and I know he does. But when it comes to his family, he's always trying to keep the peace. I get it, I really do. No one wants to be stuck in the middle of family drama, but sometimes I wish he'd stand up to them more, you know? Like, tell his mom and sister to back off. It's not like I haven't tried to fix things with them either. I've bent over backward to be nice. When Emma was going through her divorce, I was the one who offered to help. I took her and her kids in for a few weeks, helped her get back on her feet, even took her kids to school so she could get some sleep. And you'd think that would have at least earned me a little bit of respect, right? Nope. The second she got her life back together, it was back to the same crap. Like none of it even mattered. And Karen? Well, she wasn't any better. I've tried so hard to get on her good side. I've helped Mike send her money when she was going through some tough financial times, helped out with family events, you name it. But it's like nothing I do is ever enough for her. She just sees me as this outsider, like I'm not part of their family. It all came to a head last year when we went to a family wedding. Everything was going fine until Emma started bad-mouthing me to a few of the other guests. I don't know what she said exactly, but Mike overheard and he lost it. He pulled her aside and told her off, right in front of everyone. I tried to calm him down, but in the process I accidentally bumped into Karen. and she spilled her drink all over her fancy dress. You'd think I ran over her dog with the way she reacted. She made this huge scene about how expensive her dress was and how clumsy I must be in my daily life. I felt like the whole room was staring at me, and all I wanted to do was disappear. Mike and I left the party early, and ever since then, things have been even more tense between us and his family. I haven't heard much from Karen or Emma since that wedding, and honestly, I'm kind of okay with that. But it's hard, you know? I love Mike, but his family makes me feel like I'm constantly on trial. And no matter what I do, I can't seem to win them over. But hey, maybe things will change, right? Maybe this vacation I'm planning for all of us will be the thing that finally brings us together. Or maybe it'll just be another disaster. I guess we'll find out soon enough. All right, so here's where things really start to get interesting. After all the crap I've been dealing with from Karen and Emma, I figured I'd try one last time to, I don't know, bring us all closer together. Maybe I'm a sucker for punishment, but I had this idea that a nice family vacation might be the thing to help us get along. Like we could all just relax, spend time together, and hopefully get rid of this awkward tension that's been hanging over us since, well, forever. So a few months before my birthday, I started planning this whole thing. I figured it would be the perfect opportunity, right? My birthday was coming up and I could take some time off work, so why not? I was thinking about going all out for it. Like booking this fancy resort for the whole family, making it a big, fun trip. I'm talking all expenses paid, top-notch stuff. I've been working my ass off with my business and I can afford to treat myself a little. Plus, I thought it'd be nice to show Karen and Emma that, hey, I'm not just some nanny. I'm successful. I can do this kind of stuff. Mike loved the idea. He was all for it, probably because he knew how stressed I'd been with his family and thought a vacation would help me unwind. We sat down one night after dinner and started going through options. You know, looking at different resorts, checking out activities, all that. I wanted to pick a place that would make everyone happy, which, now that I think about it, was a mistake in itself because, spoiler alert, there's no pleasing Karen and Emma. Anyway, after we did some research, we found this amazing place. It had everything: beachfront views, fancy restaurants, pools, spas, you name it. I was super excited. I thought, this is it. This is going to be the trip that finally gets us on the same page. I told Mike I'd handle the booking and all that, but I asked him to talk to his mom and sister about coming along. I figured it'd be better if he handled that part, you know? Maybe they'd be more likely to say yes if it came from him. Mike was cool with it, so he went to talk to them. And that's when the first red flag popped up. He comes back from their house, and I can already tell something's off. He's got this look on his face like he just got done wrestling with a bear or something, so I'm like, hey, how'd it go? They're excited, right? He just kind of sighs and shakes his head. Not really, he says. Not really? What the hell does that mean? I ask him to explain, and he tells me that Karen and Emma weren't exactly thrilled with the idea of going on a vacation with us. Apparently, they'd both been to the resort I picked at some point last year, and weren't interested in going again. They didn't even care that I was offering to pay for everything. Karen actually said, and I'm quoting Mike here, "I've already been there. What's the point of going back?" The point, Karen, is to spend time with your freaking family. But of course, she doesn't see it that way. Emma, on the other hand, wasn't even that polite about it. She straight up called me after Mike left their house and told me she didn't want to be involved in any of my tacky plans. Tacky. Can you believe that? Here I am, planning this awesome trip, spending my hard-earned money to treat these people, and she calls it tacky. I'm not gonna lie, that one stung. I hung up the phone feeling like absolute crap. I mean, what's the point of trying so hard if they're just gonna keep throwing it back in my face? I was ready to cancel the whole thing right then and there. But Mike, bless his heart, talked me down. He reminded me that this wasn't about them, it was about us. We deserved a vacation, and if they didn't want to come, then screw them. But of course, it's never that simple, right? A couple of days later, Emma calls me again, and this time, she's got a whole new set of demands. She tells me that she'll consider coming on the trip, but only if I agree to watch her kids while we're there. Now, don't get me wrong, I love her kids. They're sweethearts, and I don't mind helping out. But the way she asked me, it wasn't a request. It was like she was expecting me to do it, like it was my job. And it wasn't just for a few hours here and there. No, she wanted me to be the full-time babysitter so she could relax. At first, I thought maybe she was joking, but nope, she was dead serious. I tried to push back a little, like, hey, I'm on vacation too, you know? Maybe we can work something out where we all take turns or something. But Emma wasn't having it. She basically said if I didn't agree to watch her kids, she wasn't coming. So there I am, stuck between wanting to have this nice family trip and not wanting to be a doormat. I didn't know what to do. I vented to Mike about it, and he was pissed. He said it wasn't fair for Emma to treat me like that, and he was right. But part of me still wanted to make it work. I guess I was hoping that if I just sucked it up and played nice, maybe things would get better. I told Mike I'd talk to Emma again, see if we could come to some kind of compromise. But when I called her back, it was clear she had no intention of budging. She straight up told me that she didn't want to bring her kids along at all. She just wanted me to stay back and watch them while she went on vacation. Like, she thought I was going to sit at home and babysit while she enjoyed the trip that I was paying for. I was floored. I didn't even know what to say. I tried to explain that I wanted her kids to be part of the vacation too, that it would be fun for all of us. But she wasn't having it. She said she had no interest in dragging them along, and that I needed to understand my role in the family. Understand my role? What does that even mean? At this point, I was done. I told her that if she wasn't willing to be reasonable, then maybe she should just stay home. I was tired of bending over backward for people who clearly didn't give a damn about me. After that, I hung up the phone and went to talk to Mike. He was just as frustrated as I was, and we agreed that it was probably best to just move forward with the trip, whether they came or not. But deep down, I was still holding out hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, they'd come around. That maybe Karen and Emma would realize how much I was trying, and we could have this nice family vacation after all. I guess I'm a bit of an optimist that way. But looking back now, I should have known better. Okay, so here's where things get even more ridiculous. After all that drama with Emma basically trying to turn me into her personal babysitter for the trip, I thought things couldn't get worse. But boy, was I wrong. So fast forward a bit. I'm still going through with the vacation, but I haven't really heard much from Karen or Emma since that last conversation. It was radio silence, and honestly, I was relieved. I needed the break. But just when I thought I could breathe easy, guess who pops back up? Yep, Emma. Out of nowhere, I get this text from her. It's one of those, "Hey, hope you're doing well, by the way," kind of messages. You know, the kind that immediately sets off alarm bells because it's so obvious that they're about to ask for something. So I open it, and sure enough, she's like, "Just wanted to check if you can watch the kids for a few hours tonight. I have some things I need to take care of." I sit there staring at my phone. Like, seriously? After everything that happened with this vacation plan, she's really coming at me with this? At first I wanted to ignore it, but I figured it'd just make things worse later. So I replied, "Sure, I guess. But what time are you thinking?" Trying to be civil, you know? Even though I knew this was going to be a whole thing. Emma replies back right away, saying she'll drop the kids off around 6. No explanation, no apology. Just like it was completely normal to drop everything on me. And I'm like, okay, whatever, it's just for a few hours, right? Wrong. 6 p.m. rolls around and Emma shows up at my door with her kids. But here's the kicker. She doesn't just drop them off and leave. Nope, she's standing there with this weird look on her face, like she's about to drop some kind of bomb on me. Not literally, because I know I can't use that word, LOL. I'm trying to play it cool, so I ask, "Everything okay?" And then she says, "Oh, by the way, I might not be back until tomorrow." Wait, what? I'm just standing there like an idiot, processing what she just said. Tomorrow? She didn't mention anything about an overnight stay. I wasn't prepared for that. I mean, I love her kids, but I didn't sign up to be their full-time babysitter, especially after all the crap she's pulled. So I tell her, "Emma, I thought you said a few hours." She kind of shrugs and goes, "Yeah, I've got some personal stuff to handle, and it might take longer than I thought. Thanks again, I really appreciate it." And before I can even say anything else, she's out the door, leaving me with 2 kids and no clue what to do. At this point, I'm fuming. Like, the audacity of this woman, right? But the kids are here now, and it's not their fault, so I try to make the best of it. I text Mike to let him know what's going on, and of course he's pissed too. He's like, "I'll talk to her later, just focus on the kids for now." So I do. We order pizza, watch a movie, and I try to keep my cool. But the whole time, I'm sitting there thinking about how much of a pushover I've been. Like, how did I let it get to this point? I've been trying so hard to make things work with Karen and Emma, and all they do is take advantage of me. I can't even plan a simple vacation without getting roped into babysitting duties that I never signed up for. Anyway, the night goes on, and as expected, Emma never comes back. So now I'm stuck with her kids overnight, scrambling to find pajamas and a place for them to sleep. I don't even have half the stuff they need because, surprise, Emma didn't bring anything with her. No clothes, no toothbrushes, nothing. It's like she just assumed I'd handle everything. Typical. The next morning, I wake up exhausted. The kids are running around the house like they own the place, and I'm just trying to keep my sanity. Mike had to leave early for work, so it's just me dealing with everything. I keep checking my phone, waiting for some kind of message from Emma, but there's nothing. Not a single text or call. It's like she disappeared off the face of the earth. Finally, around noon, I text her, "Hey, the kids are still here. When are you picking them up?" No response. By 3 p.m., I'm losing it. I text her again, more forcefully this time. "Emma, I need to know when you're coming to get the kids. This wasn't part of the plan." Still no reply. At this point, I'm seriously considering driving over to her place and just dropping the kids off on her doorstep. But Mike convinces me to give it a little more time. "She'll show up eventually," he says. "She always does." Well, he was right, but not in the way I expected. Around 6 p.m., a full 24 hours after she first dropped off the kids, Emma finally shows up. She walks in like nothing's wrong, all casual and calm, like she didn't just leave her kids with me for a full day without any warning. I'm standing there, trying not to blow up, but I can feel the anger bubbling up inside me. She looks at me and goes, "Thanks so much. I really needed that break." Needed a break? I wanted to scream, but instead I say, "Emma, you didn't tell me this was going to be an overnight thing. I wasn't prepared." And do you know what she says? She just shrugs again and goes, "Oh, I thought I mentioned it. My bad." Your bad? That's it? I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. It was like she didn't care at all about how much she was inconveniencing me. I mean, who does that? Who just dumps their kids on someone without even a heads up? Mike gets home not long after, and he can tell right away that I'm on the edge. He pulls me aside and asks what happened, so I fill him in on everything. And bless him, he's ready to go off on Emma, but I stop him. I tell him it's not worth it. She clearly doesn't care, and I'm tired of fighting a losing battle. That night, after everything had settled down and Emma finally left with her kids, I lay in bed thinking about the whole situation. I realized something important. I've been way too nice. I've let Karen and Emma walk all over me for too long, and it was time to put a stop to it. I couldn't keep bending over backward for people who clearly didn't respect me. I knew that the next time Emma tried to pull something like this, I'd have to put my foot down. No more babysitting without clear boundaries. No more letting them treat me like a second-class citizen in my own family. It was time to start standing up for myself. And as for the vacation, well, I had a new plan in mind. Let's just say Emma and Karen were about to get a taste of their own medicine. Alright, so after the whole babysitting disaster, I was done with Emma and Karen. Like, I couldn't take it anymore. The constant disrespect, the way they used me whenever it suited them, it was like I was nothing more than a convenience in their eyes. And the worst part? They didn't even bother pretending to care. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just keep letting them walk all over me. But I wasn't exactly sure what the something was yet. I mean, how do you even deal with people like that? Part of me wanted to confront them, just let it all out. But knowing Karen and Emma, that would probably just make things worse. They'd twist it around, make me look like the bad guy, and I'd end up feeling even more frustrated. So, I did what I always do when I'm stressed. I started planning. I needed a way to take back control of the situation. And then, it hit me. The vacation. The one I had been planning for weeks. The trip I was paying for with my own money. That was my leverage. If they didn't appreciate me, then they didn't get to enjoy a free vacation on my dime. It was time to turn the tables. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I just cancel the whole trip right then and there? Well, part of me still hoped that maybe, just maybe, they'd come around. I know, it's stupid, but I guess I wanted to give them one last chance to show they weren't total garbage. So instead of canceling the trip, I decided to play it cool and see what happened. A few days later, I got a call from Karen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. She rarely called unless she needed something, so I figured there had to be a reason. Sure enough, as soon as I picked up, she was all business. "Hey, I just wanted to check when we're supposed to leave for the vacation," she said, like nothing had happened. No mention of the babysitting fiasco, no apology, just straight to the point, like everything was fine. I couldn't help but smirk to myself. They really thought they were just gonna waltz onto this trip like nothing had happened. Typical. "Yeah, about that," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "I was actually thinking of making some changes to the plan." There was a pause on the other end of the line. I could almost hear Karen's confusion. "What kind of changes?" she asked, her voice a little sharper now. "Well," I said, "since I'm paying for everything, I figured I'd decide who's going. And, after everything that's happened lately, I'm not sure you and Emma really deserve to come." Boom. I dropped that right in her lap. And let me tell you, the silence on the other end was golden. For a second, I thought she'd hung up. But then she came back with, "What do you mean by that?" I leaned into it. "I mean, I've been bending over backward to try and get along with you and Emma, and all I've gotten in return is disrespect. Emma treats me like a free babysitter, and you act like I'm not good enough for Mike. So yeah, I'm rethinking the whole vacation thing." Now, I expected her to blow up. I thought she'd start yelling or getting defensive. But instead, Karen went full Karen mode, and her voice got all cold and calculated. Well, if that's how you feel, then maybe it's best if we don't go. But you should know that Mike's family won't be happy if you exclude us. There it was. The guilt trip. I saw it coming from a mile away, but it still hit me like a ton of bricks. She was basically threatening me with the whole family. Like they'd all turn against me if I dared to stand up for myself. But this time, I wasn't backing down. That's fine, I said. If they have a problem with me, they can take it up with Mike. But I'm done letting you and Emma take advantage of me. If you want to go on vacation, you can pay for your own. I think that's when it really sunk in for Karen that I wasn't playing around anymore. She tried to backtrack, saying something about how she didn't mean to make me feel that way, and that she hoped we could work things out. But I wasn't buying it. I'd heard it all before, and I knew she was just trying to save face. So I ended the call by telling her that I'd let her know if anything changed, but for now, they weren't coming. And then I hung up. After that conversation, I felt a weird mix of emotions. On one hand, I was proud of myself for finally standing up to Karen, but on the other hand, I was nervous about the fallout. I mean, I didn't want to cause a huge rift between Mike and his family, but at the same time, I couldn't keep living like this, constantly tiptoeing around Karen and Emma's feelings while they stomped all over mine. When Mike got home that night, I told him everything. I was half expecting him to be upset or disappointed, but to my surprise, he wasn't. In fact, he seemed relieved. Honestly, he said, I've been wanting to say something to them for a while now, but I didn't know how. I'm glad you stood up for yourself. That was the moment I realized I wasn't alone in this. Mike had my back, and together, we were going to handle whatever came next. The next day, I started getting texts from Emma. They were mostly guilt-trippy, passive-aggressive nonsense, like, I guess we're not family anymore, and I hope you're happy ruining our vacation. I ignored all of them. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I knew what I had to do, and I wasn't backing down. Then, Karen sent one last message. It was short and sweet. We'll be at the airport on the day of the trip. I hope you change your mind. The audacity. At that point, I knew exactly what I was going to do. They thought they could bully me into changing my mind, but they had no idea what was coming. I wasn't just going to cancel their tickets. I was going to make sure they showed up at the airport, ready for the trip of a lifetime, only to find out they weren't going anywhere. It was petty, I'll admit that. But after everything they'd put me through, I figured they deserved a little taste of their own medicine. I told Mike the plan, and he was fully on board. He even helped me make sure everything was set up perfectly. We'd let them think they were going on this amazing vacation, let them pack their bags and show up at the airport, only to find out they were never even on the list. The day of reckoning was coming, and I couldn't wait to see the look on their faces. All right, so here we are, the day of the trip. The day I'd been planning and waiting for. I was ready for whatever drama Karen and Emma were going to bring, and I had no doubts it was going to be epic. Mike and I woke up early, packed our bags, and made our way to the airport. I could feel that nervous excitement building up. You know, the kind you get when you're about to pull off a prank or something? I was trying to keep my cool, but inside I was practically buzzing with anticipation. We got to the airport a little earlier than we needed to, just to make sure everything was in place. I had everything ready, our tickets, the hotel confirmation, and most importantly, the knowledge that Karen and Emma weren't on the guest list for this trip. I'd already canceled their flights, and Mike and I were all set to leave without them. But here's the fun part. They had no idea. I checked my phone, and sure enough, there was a text from Karen. On our way to the airport, can't wait, it read. I could almost hear the smugness in her tone, like she thought everything was fine, like she was still in control. But little did she know, that was about to change. About an hour later, Mike and I are chilling at the airport, sipping coffee, when I see them. Karen and Emma, strutting in with their luggage like they owned the place. Karen had this huge smile on her face, probably imagining the luxurious vacation she thought was just a plane ride away. Emma, of course, looked bored, like she was doing me a favor by even showing up. They spotted us pretty quickly and made their way over. I could tell from the look on Mike's face that he was already bracing for impact. Karen waved at us with that fake enthusiastic energy she always put on, like she was so excited to see us. Emma was trailing behind, scrolling on her phone, completely uninterested in everything. Hey, there you guys are, Karen said, way too cheerful for what was about to go down. Are you ready for this trip or what? I just smiled and nodded. Yeah, we're ready, I said, trying to keep it together. Mike shot me a glance like, this is gonna be good, and I nodded back. Did you guys already check in? Karen asked, looking around like she was expecting some grand welcome. Oh, we're all set, I said. You guys should go ahead and check in, though. Karen looked a little confused. Aren't we all checking in together? I shrugged. Nah, we did ours earlier. You'll have to get your tickets at the counter. And that's when it started. Karen's smile faltered just a bit, but she didn't say anything. She and Emma dragged their bags to the check-in counter, and Mike and I hung back, pretending to be distracted by our phones. I was keeping one eye on them the whole time, though. I saw Karen step up to the desk, hand over her ID, and start talking to the airline worker. It didn't take long for the confusion to set in. I couldn't hear exactly what was being said, but I could see Karen's expression slowly change from that fake cheerful grin to full-on panic mode. Her hands started waving around, and she kept pointing at the computer like there must have been some mistake. Emma, meanwhile, was still on her phone, oblivious to everything happening. Mike leaned over and whispered, "Think they figured it out yet?" I chuckled. "Oh, they're figuring it out." A few minutes later, Karen stormed back over to us, her face red with frustration. Emma was finally paying attention now, trailing behind her with a scowl on her face. "What the hell is going on?" Karen snapped, her voice louder than it needed to be. "They're saying we're not on the flight. There must be some kind of mistake." This was it, the moment I'd been waiting for. I stood up, looking Karen dead in the eye, and said, "No mistake, you're not on the flight." For a second, it was like she didn't understand what I'd just said. She blinked, and her face twisted into this weird mix of confusion and anger. "What do you mean we're not on the flight? We're supposed to be going with you." I shrugged, trying to act casual even though I was loving every second of this. "Yeah, about that. I decided it'd be better if Mike and I just went alone. You know, after everything that's happened, I figured you guys didn't really want to come." Emma, who had been quiet this whole time, finally chimed in. "Wait, what? You're ditching us?" I nodded. "Pretty much." Karen looked like she was about to explode. "You can't just do that," she sputtered. "We're family! You can't just leave us behind." And that's when I laid it all out. I told her about how fed up I was with the way they treated me, how I was tired of being their doormat, and how this was my trip, and I didn't owe them anything. I didn't raise my voice, didn't lose my cool. I just calmly explained that I was done letting them take advantage of me. Karen kept trying to interrupt, throwing in things like, "But we're family," and "How could you do this to us?" But I didn't back down. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head 100 times, and I wasn't about to let her guilt trip me into changing my mind. By the time I was finished, Karen was staring at me like I'd just slapped her. Emma, for once in her life, was speechless. She just stood there, arms crossed, glaring at me like she couldn't believe what was happening. "So yeah," I said, wrapping it up. "Mike and I are going on vacation, and you guys aren't. Simple as that." Karen looked like she was about to cry, which was honestly a little satisfying to see. This is so unfair," she muttered. "After everything we've done for you?" I almost laughed at that. Everything they've done for me? Please. But instead I just smiled and said, "You'll be fine. Maybe next time you'll think twice about how you treat people." With that, Mike and I grabbed our bags and headed toward the gate. I didn't bother looking back, but I could hear Karen still ranting to Emma about how unbelievable this all was. I'm sure they'll spend the next few months telling everyone how awful I am, but honestly, I don't care. I felt free, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. As Mike and I boarded the plane, he gave me this big, goofy grin. "You handled that perfectly," he said, leaning in to give me a kiss. "Thanks," I said, grinning back. I think I finally had enough of their crap. And that's how we left Karen and Emma at the airport, ready to enjoy our vacation without them. It wasn't just about the trip, though. It was about finally standing up for myself and taking control of my life. And honestly, it felt really good.